I would have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it.
Donald Trump will not stop. He's continuing to tell us he's a dictator, that he can do anything he wants. Let's reflect on what the absolutely incomparable Maya Angelou said, that when people show you who they are, believe them. Donald Trump on the campaign trail said he was going to be a dictator. Donald Trump, as soon as he took office, started behaving as though he is a dictator. And now on multiple occasions, while president of the United States, at least in one of the moments, in the Oval Office, behind a resolute desk, has said, well, a lot of people are saying they want a dictator. This is the old proverb about the frog in the pot of the water. That's untrue, by the way. A frog would jump the out of the water if it was boiling to death. I don't know that we will. Let me take you in two clips down memory lane. Donald Trump, first on Hannity, talking about dictator on day one. And in the second clip, I'm going to show you him lying about that particular one. And then we got three clips in rapid succession of Donald Trump as president, floating the idea of being a dictator and also saying, I'm the president of the United States. I can do anything I want. But first, memory lane. Here he is on Hannity saying, dictator on day one.
I want to be very, very clear on this. To be clear, do you in any way have any plans whatsoever, if reelected president, to abuse power, to break the law, to use the government to go after people?
You mean like they're using right now? So, in the history of our country, what's happened to us, again, has never happened before. Over nonsense, over nothing, made up charges. I often say Al Capone, he was one of the greatest of all time, if you like criminals. He was a mob boss, the likes of which Scarface, they call him. And he got indicted once. I got indicted 4 times.
I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances. You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's not retribution.
I'm going to be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
It's kind of nice to go back and look at some of the questions during the campaign when people were being presented with two choices, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. And Sean Hannity asked him, no, look, you don't have any plans to abuse power. Ding! He said, no, but yep, what have we seen? You have no plans to break the law. Ding! He has plans. He's doing it. No plans to use the government to go after people. Ding, 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 ding. He's doing that very thing. And dictator on day one. You heard him say it. We played the clip. We talked about the clip. And then he ran to Wisconsin to a rally. And while you're watching this, him lie about what you just watched, I want you to pay attention, listening to Donald Trump, but pay attention to this dumb lady who's, we'll put a circle around her at first just to give you an idea of who she is and what to pay attention to, because she embodies the Trump cult like no other individual that you've ever seen on tape while Donald Trump talks. Watch her and listen to Donald Trump lie about this moment, but also about being a dictator.
I said once about a month ago, you only have to vote this one time, and after that, everything will be good. And the fake news said, see, he wants to be a dictator and take over the country. No, that's not what. I said, we got to fix the country, got to make sure, and then the country will be great, and we're going to have, hopefully, some great person whether it's JD or somebody else. And when the great Sean Hannity asked me a question, and I jokingly said, he said, okay, let's get this up. You don't want to be a dictator, do you? I said, Sean, I only want to be a dictator for one day, and I'm going to close the borders and drill, baby, drill. But after that, I never want to be a dictator, right? So the fake news took that answer, and they said, Sean, I want to be a dictator. Click, cut. So they said, Sean, I want to be a dictator. And they go, he wants to be a dictator. They cut the rest of these are the worst people. These are the worst. They said he's a threat to democracy. He wants to be a dictator. No, you know the threat to democracy are when you put incompetent people in charge of our country. That's a real threat to democracy.
He was right about one thing. The threat to democracy is when you put incompetent people in charge of our country. That is to be sure. Also, what was going on with that lady, right? Well, here we are. It is now 2025, not the long ago times of 2024 during the campaign. Donald Trump is now actually president of the United States again. And how is he acting? Is he abusing power? Is he breaking the law? Is he defying court orders? Is he defying the Supreme Court of the United States every chance he gets? Yes. Is he weaponizing government against his enemies, his political opponents? Yes. Is he effectuating the disappearance using his mass secret police in the streets of the United States? Yes, he is. He's acting as though he's a dictator. Remember this moment from August 25th when he talked about being a dictator in the Oval Office.
As you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person.
A lot of people are saying that maybe we'd like a dictator. Who? Who are the a lot of people are saying? No one is saying that. Maybe the dipshit lady from Wisconsin at your rally, maybe she, yes, maybe she's saying it, but nobody else. Because we are a constitutional republic, as Republicans like to remind everybody all the time. We are a form of democracy. It's not the only time Trump said it. Yesterday, Donald Trump, in his cabinet meeting, with his 3-hour cabinet meeting, where every single cabinet official seated around the table just heaped obsequious, bootlicking praise on Donald Trump, thanking him for the ability to work for him and thanking him for saving it is dictator nonsense on full display. And not once but twice, Donald Trump invoked being a dictator and used it as a justification to do whatever he wants. And then we're going to get to him talking about he can do anything he wants as a president. And the through line here is that phrase about being able to do anything he wants. First, one of the moments.
But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people are so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
So a lot of people say, many people are saying, that's the go-to for Donald Trump when he's just saying what's in his head. Justifying the horrors in his little pea brain by invoking that other people are saying it. A lot of people are saying it, as though consensus conveys with it truth or accuracy or legality or properness. And here's the through line. It's that he can be whatever he wants, versus what you're going to hear after this clip, that anything I want to do, I can do because I'm president of the United States. Here he is the second time in a single cabinet meeting talking about being a dictator.
We have a guy in Illinois, the governor of Illinois, saying that crime has been much better in Chicago recently, and Trump is a dictator. And most people say, if you call him a dictator, if he stops crime, he can be whatever he wants. I'm not a dictator, by the way, but he can be whatever he wants.
Most people say if he stops crime, he can do whatever he wants. And this ultimately is what Donald Trump believes about himself and the powers that are vested in him by the United States Constitution or by his own weak and feeble brain, that he could do whatever he wants. Because in this clip, same meeting, he's talking about deploying the military to Chicago. Look, there's a lot of talk and consternation about doing it here in Washington, D.C., where I live, that we are not a state. We are ultimately at the behest of the Congress, and that Donald Trump, as the executive of the country, who has the power of the military as commander-in-chief, he can dispatch the troops here. And unfortunately, that is the situation we live. But he does not have the same rights and authorities over municipalities in states that are protected under the Constitution and the 10th Amendment, like Chicago, like Seattle, like Atlanta, like Los Angeles, like New York City, like Boston, like name another blue city that he wants to dispatch red troops to, right? This is the through line. It's that he can do whatever he wants.
So I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem. Can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. No problem going in and solving, his difficulties. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it?
Fortunately and unfortunately, we are in a situation. Fortunately for us, the Constitution does set guardrails for Donald Trump. He cannot do anything he wants. Unfortunately, as I throw this around, unfortunately for us, we have an obsequious court, the Supreme Court of the United States, who has granted Donald Trump immunity from prosecution, criminal prosecution, for things up to and including deploying troops to murder political opponents. But also, unfortunately, we have a current Republican Party that will do nothing to stop Donald Trump. They will not curtail his most evil desires. They will not push back against his most unconstitutional actions because they're in the cult. The leaders of the Republican Party are those people around the table who heap praise on Donald Trump, who pour lovely nothings into his ear. Oh, dear leader. Oh, it makes me excited when you talk like that, dear leader. From Marco Rubio to Pete Hegseth, ass kissers, everyone. To Brooke Rollins and Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem, ass kissers, everyone. They are setting the stage for dictatorial rule by Donald Trump. When they say nothing about his little merch closet that adjoins the Oval Office of the White House, in which there are on these shelves there are hats 4 more years. Trump 2028. They're saying nothing about that. They're setting the stage for his dictator rule over the United States, and it seems as though they're gleeful about it. What it's going to take is overwhelming action and organizing on the part of you to not just vote. It's going to take voting first and foremost, most importantly, but it's going to take your organizing. It's going to take you attending protests, working on behalf of Democratic politicians who are trying to get elected to swing the majority in the House and the Senate right now. That's first and foremost what we need to do. Because there's still we have the power to change who governs. We still have the power to choose who represents us.
There is a murder on the streets of this town every other day. Body after body after body after body.
Stephen Miller, with the help of Fox News, is floating maybe the most dangerous idea that we've heard since Donald Trump became president of the United States a second time. And that's saying something, because there's been some doozies. He has deployed the military into the streets of Washington, D.C., with his masked secret police kidnapping off the streets with no due process members of this community, Americans even. They're arresting people who are just filming them, peacefully standing there filming them. That's something that's happening. So when I say that this might be the most dangerous thing that's been said, the most dangerous thing that's been floated, the most dangerous thing that will precede the thing that he's saying, you should take it seriously. Follow along here. This is important. Fox News made a short out of this specific moment. I'm not going to show you the short because I'm going to show you the full version in an interview with Sean Hannity. But Stephen Miller, the ghoulish little puke, the Nazi wannabe, some would argue full-fledged, Stephen Miller is now attempting to designate the Democratic Party. I want to get his exact quote right because it's adjacent to the thing I want to talk about. The Democrat Party, he says, is a domestic extremist organization. If that's the road they're going down, that this official spokesperson for the President of the United States, this is a person who speaks for Donald Trump, speaks into his ear, and the things that Donald Trump says come from the brain of Stephen Miller. If they want to designate the Democratic Party as a terrorist organization, ultimately is what he's saying, that means, well, there's going to be a whole bunch. That means no funding. That means anyone involved is also a terrorist. That means they will freeze the assets of, they will stop the Democratic Party from existing. And what happens when there's only one party left in the United States and it's the Republican Party? Well, let your imaginations run wild. I want to share this tweet from you, from one of the Pod Save America guys, John Favreau. He tweeted in response to this particular Fox News tweet. This is Fox News spreading the word, spreading the gospel of fascism. Stephen Miller on Sean Hannity, the Democrat Party is not a political party, it is a domestic extremist organization. And John Favreau quote tweeted with this: senior government official declares the opposition party domestic extremists as military and masked federal agents are deployed to opposition strongholds. Now, he's absolutely right, but he doesn't go far enough. It's a tweet. You can't expect him to go drilling down like I am in this 8 to 10 to 12 minute video, however long this is going to be. I don't know. I'm only 3 minutes in. What should I do here? Let's play the clip, not the short, of exactly what Stephen Miller said, and let's get into exactly the dangerous, fascistic ramifications of his floating this idea.
The Democrat Party does not fight for, care about, or represent American citizens. It is an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. The Democrat Party is not a political party. It is a domestic extremist organization. Look at Chicago. They've shut down the police department. They've handcuffed law enforcement, and as President Trump says, they have turned the streets of Chicago into a bloody killing field. Here in Washington, D.C., before President Trump launched the federal law enforcement liberation in D.C., there was a murder on the streets of this town every other day. Body after body after body after body. That was Washington, D.C. Residents were afraid to go to restaurants. They were afraid to go into entire neighborhoods. They were getting carjacked right and left, robbed and beaten. That was Washington, D.C. Now we're 2 weeks homicide free, the safest the city has ever been in its entire history. And the Democrats, instead of jumping up and down and saying, thank you, President Trump, thank you for saving our lives, thank you for saving our cities, thank you for scrubbing away all the graffiti, the trash, the homeless encampments, the druggies, instead of cleaning up the city, instead of thanking him for that, they're saying, President Trump, how dare you save our lives? How dare you save our children? How dare you save our city? The Democrat Party, Sean, that exists today, it disgusts me. I do not recognize that party, Sean.
So first of all, and it just struck me, the body after body after body after body. What is he? Is this a new music act? Is this a new talent? Is he trying to carve out a space in the creative arena? Stephen Miller, have you been listening to too much Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Body after body after body after body. Body after body after body after body.
Well, that's, of course, that's ridiculous. Stephen Miller wouldn't listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire, a group comprised of almost 100% black people. An iconic group, by the way, a fan. I've seen Earth, Wind, and Fire maybe 6 times live in concert. I think Stephen Miller's more of a drowning pool guy with the bodies hitting the floor.
Body after body after body after body after body after body after body.
Look, again, when you're faced with existential crisis, if you don't take a little time to boost your mood with a little levity and laughter, you're going to be miserable, and I refuse to be miserable. If I was dedicated to that prospect, here's what I would do. I would continue talking about Stephen Miller and his plans to designate the Democratic Party as a terrorist organization, because he is claiming here in this clip, that was a real pivot from a little bit of a laugh to this. He is claiming in that clip that you are involved in, you are a member of, I am a member of an entity devoted exclusively to the defense of hardened criminals, gangbangers, and illegal alien killers and terrorists. That you're aiding and abetting terrorists. That the Democratic Party is not a political party, he says. It's a domestic extremist organization. He says that before he claims that Chicago has shut down their police department, which obviously is untrue. The body after body after body after body, and all of the nonsense about residents being afraid to go to restaurants in Washington, D.C., which is apparently I'm like Jason Bourne. I'm a Rambo type character, that I'm out there able to get into the restaurants on a weekly basis here in Washington, D.C., because I just possess so much badassery that I can do so. So here's the deal. Executive Order 13224 was signed on September 23rd, 2021, not even 2 weeks. Not even, just a few days after 9/11, right? And under this executive order, there are certain characters who can designate terrorist organizations, extremist organizations. Who would they be? They would be the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, and the Attorney General of these United States. They together, in concert with one another, can determine who the extremist organizations are. And there are punishments for that. Shutting down, financial collapse of the organizations through sanction, through freezing their assets, through prohibiting anyone to be involved with them, to support, give material support to them. If this is what the Democratic Party is, they'll have the legal authority to shut it down. And who are those individuals again? The Secretary of State of these United States, Marco Rubio, bootlicker extraordinaire. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi. You think she's going to do the right thing? Or is she going to be an obsequious ass kisser like she is in every other moment of her life? And the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, who obviously is a sycophant. We're going to rely on them to determine who the extremist organization is or is not? Or are they just going to do whatever Donald Trump says? Because if they do, here are the legal consequences according to this executive order signed on September 23rd, 2001. All property and interests in property of designated individuals or entities that are in the United States or that come within the United States or that come within the possession or control of U.S. persons are blocked. Any transaction, meaning campaign contribution, material support for the Democratic Party, any transaction or dealing by U.S. persons or within the United States in property or interest in property blocked pursuant to the order is prohibited, including but not limited to the making or receiving of any contribution of funds, goods, or services to or for the benefit of individuals or entities designated under the order. And then 4, civil and criminal penalties may be assessed for these violations. This is the precursor, the trial balloon, if you will, to Donald Trump through Stephen Miller, I guess, through Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio and Scott Bessent to label, to name, to designate the Democratic Party as a terrorist organization, as a domestic extremist organization. When they tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, believe them. Donald Trump talking about being a dictator, and he's going to make it illegal to be a member of the opposition party, of the minority party, creating only one party in the United States. All of the fear about communism, all the rambling about liberty versus tyranny. And here we are with Republicans welcoming it. They're rolling out the red carpet for Donald Trump in his dictatorial debut. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, if you think it's a stretch, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. And that needs to be something you stopped years ago. What do you think? I want your earnest opinion here. Decimate my argument. Prove me wrong. Find the lie, whatever you want to say. I would appreciate your feedback. We can have a conversation in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. If you appreciate what I do, please help support this work in independent media that I'm doing. You can help produce these videos. There's a few different ways. One, you could just do a super thanks right now on the video. All that money goes to production and helping run this channel. We appreciate it very much. You can also become a channel member right on YouTube. Click the join button below, become a channel member for $2 a month, or even better, monthly. You can go to, not monthly, you go to patreon.com/I Doubt It podcast, and then you can create a monthly donation to help support this work. We'd appreciate it very much. It's truth telling what you're doing. Like, for instance, this image of Stephen Miller. It's Stephen Miller that is created with a bunch of little swastikas. This is truth telling. Although we've never faced a moment in American history like the current one, it is times like this where art, oddly enough sometimes, is very important. Whether that be movies that convey a message, that animate people's activism, or music, or in the case of today's guest, Jesse Duquette, political cartoons and art. Jesse, it's nice to have another Jesse on the show. Welcome.
That's right. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
So being someone, me, who is completely, absolutely bereft of artistic ability, just it's the way it is, I admire folks like you who are, I think, born with something, and then you use practice and repetition to hone that skill. When did you find out that you had the ability and the interest, and then combine those two things into what you do now?
Well, I've had I would say, obsessive interest in drawing from the time it sounds maybe trite to say or cliched, but since I could hold a pen quite literally, I'm an only child, so that's how I spent a lot of my time, was just kind of obsessively drawing, over and over again from a very, very young age. So, it's the thing I've always liked doing. Above all else, it's the one thing that I would probably choose to do above anything. So it was just something that's always been there as like a pastime, a hobby, which, it still is, but certainly over time, and especially in these times, it's become more of a therapeutic endeavor, I would say.
So I want to kind of share. I talk a lot about this particular thing on my show a lot, that there are different styles. There are different political commentators out there who are certainly different than me, more low key, more, I don't want to be pejorative about it, but more milquetoast. I am more bombastic. It's just who I am. It's not this isn't a character I'm playing on the fucking YouTube. This is it. This is who you get. So your style is more aggressive. It's more attuned to, I think, what my style is, and maybe even what my audience would like. I want to show a couple of examples very quickly. For instance, this one is doing all of the heavy lifting that you hope political cartoons will do. Sometimes subtlety doesn't get the job done, and I appreciate your particular style. Are you getting pushback? I know that you are being shadow banned by Instagram. Are there other platforms out there that don't find the artistic credibility that I find in your art?
Well, I'm only on Instagram, Threads, for social media, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Instagram and Threads are the ones that are the most difficult with this. Blue Sky hadn't been a problem until fairly recently, where they took some drawings down and then reinstated them right away. So that was a little different. But Instagram's been, almost as long as I've had an account, it's been a problem. It's been an issue there for sure.
I mean, look, it's truth telling what you're doing. Like, for instance, this image of Stephen Miller it's Stephen Miller that is created with a bunch of little swastikas. This is truth telling. This is a metaphor. Obviously, sometimes people need it smashed over their head. Maybe I'm your audience because I need it explained. I mean, this is, for me, there's a beauty in the horror of what you are depicting. What is it you kind of hope people take away from, maybe not this specific image, but your creations in general?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't really take into consideration what a response will be. This is very much like a nightmare diary. It's kind of whatever I do. I will say, you use the word milquetoast, which I think is very apt, because that's the way I would describe most, I think, political discourse in a mainstream way, and especially political cartooning. And so I wouldn't say have consciously tried to do this. I think it's just by virtue of how I go about it. I try to do the counterpoint to that. I think playing it in a safe way makes zero sense, especially now. So I try to be as sort of blunt and raw about whatever I'm drawing about as possible, because I think that that's what is required right now. So if nothing else, I hope that, if people are, either they like it, great. If they don't like it, I hope they can consider maybe why they don't like it. I'm never punching down, I'm never taking the piss out of someone who doesn't deserve it. So I think, if there's something about it that gets in someone's crosshairs, I think that's probably cause for a little bit of self-reflection.
Yeah, I like, it's interesting. I pulled 5 or 6 images that really resonated with me, just of your recent drawings. This is one I really like, that really touches on what you just said about, in this moment, we don't need milquetoast. We don't need people who are here to compromise with the Nazis, to compromise with the masked secret police in the street who are here to kidnap our community members. And it sounds like you are using your talent rather than for, you're not Thomas fucking Kincaid, the master of light or whatever. You're actually doing activism here. What's been some of the reactions of your friends, your family, the people in your life, or even detractors online? Are you getting shit for what you're doing?
Oh yeah, for sure. A I will say, thankfully, the encouraging and sort of supportive comments and people out there outweigh the nasty jerks and all that. It is ironic, though, that drawing you just showed, it's drawings like that almost get me the most blowback, and it's usually from the left or from Democrats. Some of the highest volume of hateful DMs I've received have been typically when I've drawn this, or a drawing I did of Andrew Cuomo a few years ago, because, I think people aren't used to taking fire from maybe what they've seen as one of their own.
Sure.
But I think I don't care what your political party label is. If you're sexually harassing your interns, I'm going to say something about it,
Yeah, sure.
And similarly, if you are the supposed, elected leaders of the Democratic Party, or of a political party, and your response to fascism is writing strongly worded letters, I'm going to draw about that as well.
Yeah. You are, not only do we share the same first name, we share the same initials too. So I'm a little bit out of shape about that you're stealing the JD thunder here. But you're speaking my language, because I also talk about often that we need to jettison any adherence to this team nature of politics. Andrew Cuomo, bad guy, did a bad job as governor, has no business being the mayor of New York, especially when there's an exemplary candidate on the ballot like Zohran Mamdani. So, I like your Andrew Cuomo with the Trump makeup. I don't remember what the caption was, and it wasn't one of the ones I grabbed, but
when you're a star, they let you do it.
Yeah, that's right. When you're a star, they let you do it. This is what we need from people, from Americans, to go out there and combat bad on both sides. Because when we have literal fascism in the streets, I'll throw up another one here of your Join ICE poster here. I'm not going to go through and explain why the art resonates with me, but in moments like this, and this depicts exactly what's happening. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm witnessing this on a daily basis. They did a checkpoint near my neighborhood last night, and it's terrifying for a lot of people. So I think that your work, your art, your talent serves to animate people into action, into an uprising, into, at the very least, attending a protest. And it speaks to that thing in the back of our minds that maybe we don't recognize. And I hope that it'll initiate in people. Will that be an ancillary benefit, or are you really just doing this as a therapy, cathartic kind of a thing for yourself?
The act of doing it is very much that. I try to disassociate from any presumed or expected response, but a motivating factor to keep doing it is certainly, I think, broadly speaking, what the response has been. People who have said that the drawings, have either motivated them to become more politically engaged, or you feel less alone. They're in some red state, deeply red state, and they feel very isolated. So I think, I get asked the question often, does making art matter? Like, what's art's place right now? And, I think the sort of kumbaya answer is like, art's going to save us. And I don't believe that, but I do think that it has a very important and impactful place to engender a sort of sense of community and togetherness that I think is a necessity if people are serious about fighting fascism, which hopefully people are at this point. I think art does have an ability to sort of cross boundaries and to coalesce ideas and thought. And I don't presume to occupy that space, but I do think that's something that would any artist that's sort of trafficking and documenting current events would hopefully aspire to something like that.
Well, don't sell yourself short. I think that you're making a larger impact on people's activism than you probably think. I mean, you're doing something right when big tech is trying to shut you down. And actually, on that note, because I face this, people in my particular genre and space on YouTube face this all the time as well. where can people who are interested in supporting your work, where can they find you? I know you're on Instagram. We'll have links to all that in the description. But where can people actually, plunk down a couple bucks a month and support your work in your, in a moment like this? It's brave to do what you're doing. And I think people need to be rewarded for their bravery and their hard work, your labor. Where can people find you?
Other than the social media platforms, I have a Substack. So it's Jesse Duquette. If you just Google that in Substack, you'll find it. And basically, you can have a free subscription. You can pay by the month. You can have an annual subscription. You can kind of pay what you want, essentially. And I'll post all my drawings there. And it started as a way to have some avenue to put stuff out that I didn't have to worry about, social media, the algorithm taking stuff down, suppressing it. So I needed to kind of catalog it. And then I'll put stuff there that, I've done posts where I'll put together all the bunch of the drawings that have been taken down that I couldn't put back up. So they have at least a place to live online. But Substack would be the main mode outside of social media.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, look, we keep talking about this moment, in this time that we're in, this is unprecedented and we've never seen anything like this. And we may lose our country, our very democracy, our culture, our society over what's taking place right now. And going back to Democrats not meeting the moment, largely that's the case. There are pockets of people in power who are doing the right thing and saying the right thing and animating people to do the right thing. But I've even had, I hate to keep bringing it, it's Team JD here, so I'll tell some JD stories. I recently had a politician, a household name who's definitely going to be running for president this next time, cancel he invited me to interview him and then canceled when he saw a tweet that I tweeted the day that Donald Trump, that a bullet went near his ear. It didn't strike his ear. But I said, look, if you traffic and you incite and you encourage violence in politics, eventually it's going to come back and you're going to reap what you sow. And that was too much for this particular prominent Democrat. And I want to leave on the note that we are apparently, we are long lost brothers with the same initials and first names, because I have been talking about the imminent death of Donald Trump over the course of this term, that I don't think he's long for this world. You can't have Big Mac sauce coursing through your veins as your life force and make it too much longer. So I like seeing things like this. I appreciate your sensibilities, your sense of humor, and I think other people do too. Are you finding that people are excited or like, finally somebody's saying the thing that's rattling around in my brain?
I think that's probably what has attracted people to the drawings and to the account is, not to put too much of an emphasis on it, but I just because of the way I go about it, what I find funny, if that's the right word, I kind of go for the jugular. And so, for example, I think people are hungry for that. I think people want to feel validated in that feeling, because those feelings are valid. Like if we're serious about Trump being a fascist and his movement being fascism, which it is, but if we're serious about that, then let's approach it with what it deserves, which is nothing but derision. And I mean, I hate to have this emotion, but with hate, I mean, that's what else, you can't,
it's a word I use associated with Donald Trump. So you're not stepping on any toes here.
I mean, people take up that drawing with the dog. Even people have gotten upset about, how could, the guy has kids. And it's like, great, them too. I don't, it's the fascism thing is not hyperbole for me. It's an accurate description and a diagnosis. And I think, there shouldn't be any messing around with that. I think people need to be emphatic about it. And it's unfortunate to hear about the unnamed politician, because I think that's, I think you can see now, maybe that person feels differently today, who knows? Because I do think you see the way certain Democrats in office are beginning to treat Trump sort of by giving him a taste of his own medicine in a way, or at least just being more forceful. Here in Chicago, Pritzker, I mean, I think he's a good example of someone who's at least, I think approaching him with the level of respect that he deserves, which is negative.
Yeah. I talked about, I'm no fan of electing billionaires to the highest offices in the land.
Right.
But look, I'm not gonna poo-poo the efforts of someone who is actually using his privilege and the umbrella of safety that his money provides him. I'm not gonna shit on him for actually tackling the fascism that is not at our front door, but it's the call's coming from inside the house, Jesse D.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I'm here for J.B. Pritzker. I'm here for the Nazi associating of Gavin Newsom, chuckling it up with Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. In the absence of actual leadership, I'm here for it. And in the absence of actual leadership, I just segued myself into ending our conversation. In the absence of I'm here for your work too, because we need regular people who have whatever talents, whatever ability to get out there and create activism in their life, even if it's something as mundane and seemingly anodyne as talking to people that you know at work, or your family, or your friends, or your acquaintances, or the person you sit next to at the bus stop. That kind of activism is activism. It doesn't. You don't have to have a YouTube channel. You don't have to have some amazing artistic ability. Get out there and do what you can do in this moment, because it's going to take all the 1,000 points of light coming together: art, music, movies, protests in the street, action on the part of our elected members to defeat what is facing us right now. So, thanks for your work, man. And it's great.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thanks.
We're done turning the other cheek.
Let me introduce you to a radical Republican. It's kind of a misnomer, because all Republicans are radicals. It's just kind of a spectrum of how radical they are. This woman is less radical than she was last year, based on how radical the Republican Party is becoming. That is what's called the Overton window. Let me introduce you to multi-state, multi-campaign, multi-loser Valentina Gomez. You've maybe seen her videos on Twitter, if you're still taking part on the Nazi website, where she is just a maniac, firing weapons, being anti-immigrant, even though she's an immigrant, being anti-LGBTQ, just being the most vile version of a Christian nationalist that she can be. And I'm getting ready to play a video for her where she sets ablaze the holy book of Islam. She sets on fire the Quran, while besmirching the philosophies and directly shitting on the teachings of Jesus Christ. It's something to behold. But let me say this before I get to the video, because she is a multi-time loser. I mean, she lost her Missouri when she lived in Missouri trying to be the Secretary of State. She lost that in primary. Now, apparently, Missouri told her to pound sand. So she moved to Texas to try to win a congressional race there. That will probably also lose. Who knows, though? We need to keep our eye on these radicals. But I'm not really talking about her specifically, more the conditions within the Republican Party in our country in general that have allowed this woman to become notable enough that people worry she might win. That's a problem. That the extremism in the Republican Party, and look, when you look at fringe Democratic candidates, they're not burning holy books of religions that aren't their own. They're not bigots on a scale we haven't seen since the 1920s, when the KKK marched through the streets of Washington, D.C. unfettered. It's a different time now. So watch this. I'm going to play this short video, and then we're going to analyze, we're going to break down some of the things she says and talk about the danger that she presents.
Your daughters will be raped and your sons beheaded unless we stop Islam once and for all. We're done turning the other cheek. Remember, David didn't pray for Goliath. He killed them. America is a Christian nation, so those terrorist Muslims can fuck off to any of the 57 Muslim nations. There is only one true God, and that is the God of Israel.
Anytime a Republican is feeling a little insecure about their positions, about the positions they hold, about their position in a race, they go back to the old tried and true bigotry, Islamophobia, that your daughters will be raped by these savages, your sons will be beheaded by these savages, making no distinction between radical Islamists who practice terrorism and practice a perverted view of their religion, and Muslims, average, everyday individuals who are religious and follow Islam. But I love this line. We're done turning the other cheek, she says. Remember, David didn't pray for Goliath. He killed them. Wait, isn't that a pronoun? That's very confusing. America is a Christian nation, so those terrorist Muslims can fuck off. She's speaking very Jesus-centrically. If you imagine an image of Jesus, these are the things he would say, right? I mean, he for sure would say that. And that there's only one true God, and it's the God of Israel. Does this dipshit, does this absolute radical moron not understand that the three major monotheistic religions, they follow the same God? No? Judaism came first, then Christianity based on that same God, and then as a revision, I guess, Islam. It's the same thing. Moses is mentioned in the Quran a number of different times. Jesus is mentioned in the Quran as a prophet a number of different times. It's the same deal, sister. It's the same deal. But as far as you saying we're done turning the other cheek, that's interesting because you claim to be a Christian. You claim to follow the philosophies and the teachings of your God, Jesus the Christ. Very interesting. Let me remind Valentina Gomez, this mighty righteous woman of God, of the God of Israel and Jesus the Christ. Matthew 5:38 through 45, or 48, excuse me. This is Jesus speaking. You have heard that it was said, eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. It's strange that she's done doing the thing she was commanded. You think that was a recommendation, Valentina? You were commanded by your God. You claim to be the son of God. And you're just like, yeah, we're done doing that. That's liberal bullshit. That's woke trash. I'm not going to follow the Bible and what Jesus said. I'm going to go my own way. I'm not going to pray for those who persecute me. No. I'm going to gun them the down. Oh. Let me do this, though. This is pretty great. Real quick. I was going to go through her Meet Me page. We can throw that up for you to read if you want to pause. But I really want to go through this incoherent key issues on her campaign. Let me grab my glasses here. I didn't write it down in my notes. These are the issues that are most important to Valentina Gomez. Veterans and military. No taxes for our veterans and soldiers. Wow, thank you very much. That's nice of you. I'd love to not pay taxes. You know how many military veterans we have in this country? If you were to take out that tax revenue from the country, do you have any idea what that would do, No, you don't. You don't, because you're stupid. You've paid more than enough, she says. Pro-life. Abortion is murder. Energy is just a bunch of nonsense that is spouted by Donald Trump. School choice to every Texan. Investigate every school for groomers and pedophiles. No presumption of innocence, I guess. You just investigate every school for all the pedophiles and the groomers. Israel, I fully support Israel. Bomb these terrorists once and for all. You want to bomb the terrorists in Israel? I think Benjamin Netanyahu would have something to say about that. Crime, more obsession with pedophiles and murderers. All pedophiles and murderers get a bullet, I guess, except for Donald Trump. Lock up the criminals, not the toothpaste. Illegals are criminals, so we'll be deporting them. And then again on taxes, abolish property taxes. Families with 2+ children don't pay taxes, and the IRS shouldn't track any of your purchases. So now veterans don't pay taxes. Military members don't pay taxes. Millions and millions of people we're talking about. And now anybody with 2 or more children also don't pay taxes. So I'm a member of all of those groups, veterans. I'm not active military anymore, but I'm a member of multiple. Do I get paid now for being here? Or it's just extra pat on the back because I have kids and also I served in the military. She did not, by the way, serve in the military, which is extra funny that she's always in fucking military fatigues, like she's some kind of a tactical operator. Setting holy books on fire, just like Jesus would. Ugh. Gross. Disgusting. Republican. Not a Democrat. Notice that. The radicals that you see, the bigots that you see, they're Republicans.
Have you seen the upgrades to the dignity of what it looks like in the Oval Office? It went from a plain Jane. Donald Trump has goldified the Oval Office. Gold speaks of heavenly things.
You've seen the new Oval Office, right? Everybody's seen it. We've seen the pictures. There's photos of what it was like before when Joe Biden was in office, and now that it's just like a fucking Trump golden toilet now, just in room form. It's ostentatious. It's gross. It's weird. It's gaudy. It's sick. It's just, it's as though Donald Trump took a shit all over the room, and that's just naturally how it came out. He's even gone as far as to install, there's a private, smaller private office where the president of the United States can have some privacy and get some work done, some actual work. And Donald Trump, because he doesn't do any work, this was Obama's private office when he was there. I don't know what Biden did with it. But Donald Trump, because he doesn't do any work, he, meanders down into the White House, into the out of the residence at about 11:30 in the morning, sometimes afternoon, after watching the Fox News all day, to get some work done. And then he just goes down there and falls asleep during meetings and shit, He turned that office of Obama into a merch closet where he tries to give away his 4 more years in Trump 2028 hats to other despot leaders across the globe. Watch this, and then we'll talk about Shane Vaughn, the mighty righteous man of God, the prophet of the great mighty on high. It'll be great. Watch this merch closet video first.
They love this for your wife.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. Good
Great.
stuff.
Thank you.
Can you put the key in here, whoever's taking it? That's important not to lose that.
Yeah.
Do you have your key?
No.
Okay, good. I had this one for you, but I like that box better.
Yeah.
I had that one for you. You're not allowed to run. Because I'm 28 points higher than anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody wants me to run, but
Including us.
It's funny. So this drives me crazy. Look, 4 more years. I go 4 more years. So it's sort of cool. Fellas, come on, grab what you want. That's okay.
So, that's bananas that he's telling this despot leader well, you know, they won't let me run. I want to be president again. The guy goes, yeah, us too. We want you to be too. It tells you everything you need to know. So Shane Vaughn is a self-described prophet of God. A man who believes he can dial up Jesus on the bat phone and get all the deets about what's coming. Hurricanes and earthquakes and natural disasters and making predictions about elections. He's a convicted insurance fraud scamster who robbed little old ladies of their Social Security checks. And so what better way after you've been disgraced by conviction than to just become a pastor and then steal from a congregation while telling lies and worshiping your actual God, your actual leader, your actual cult aficionado, Donald Trump, which is something Shane Vaughn has said, by the way. If I'm guilty of worshiping, I'm guilty of the blessings of God because I worship the Donald Trump. Weird and gross. But here he is in a masterfully shot vertical video explaining to his congregation that if you're against the goldified Oval Office, you're against God. It's all very, very concerning, I guess, but also just puts on full display who and what these white Christian nationalist cult members of Donald Trump, what they are, who they are, and what they believe, and the heavy job, the hard job they have of the heavy lift to justify Donald Trump. Watch Shane Vaughn, and then we'll talk about some of his nonsense and wrong words that he uses on the other side.
Have you seen the upgrades to the dignity of what it looks like in the Oval Office? It went from a plain Jane. Donald Trump has goldified the Oval Office and paid for it out of his pocket. You and I didn't pay one dime for the beauty. He's made it look like Buckingham Palace, something to be proud of. We're not plain Jane people. We're the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And our Oval Office should display that grandeur, that austerity. Thank you, President Trump. He paid for it out of his pocket. And guess what else he's paying for out of his own pocket? That grand ballroom, that gold-covered ballroom. Somebody said, I don't like all that gaudy gold. Then you're not going to like the kingdom of God very much, where streets are even made out of it, according to people's understanding. The Ark of the Covenant, covered in gold. The altar of incense, covered in gold. The table of shewbread, covered in gold. The menorah, covered in gold, because gold is godly. Gold speaks of heavenly things. And the United States of America was founded by the decree of heaven. So thank you, President Trump, and I pray that ballroom has gold toilets. I can't wait. What a great day to be an American.
Did you hear him trail off there when he wasn't sure whether it talks about streets of gold in the actual text of the Bible? He's not sure, so he's like, so like it was said in the people who say they know about it. Like, who knows about heaven? Who's been to heaven? The mythical location, the spiritual location that apparently is constructed with terrestrial and earthly elements like gold, as represented on the periodical chart by AU. But why would you expect accuracy or truth or honesty from Shane Vaughn when he used the word austerity? I think he meant ostentatious, but he didn't say it. He said austerity related to the display of gold and nonsense, the goldified Oval Office. Austerity, extreme plainness and simplicity of style or appearance. And then here's the example that they use. Quote, the room was decorated with a restraint bordering on austerity. Oh, leave it to these hicks. Look, I grew up with hicks. I was a hick at one time. I still have friends that think I am a hick. So, you know, it's a game identifying game, I guess. Being a former evangelical, going to churches with pastor types, pastor figures, leaders of congregations, just like this. I grew up with goofballs like this, revering goofballs like this, viewing people like him and Kenneth Copeland as actual mighty, righteous men of God, not to be touched. Touch not God's anointed, they would say. What do you think? My audience knows well enough now. You know well enough now. I know well enough now what you think and you what I think. So comment below. Let's have fun with this one. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you enjoy the fun times and the serious, I would appreciate your support helping produce these videos. You can first and foremost go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. That is a great venue for supporting your favorite creators, whether that be music or art or political commentary, whatever. That would be great. We'd appreciate that very much. You can also become a channel member on YouTube by clicking the join button below the video or just on the channel on YouTube. $2 a month goes a long way towards supporting what we do here, and I would appreciate it very much. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore just about everywhere. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care. I didn't have another one in me. And take care of one another.